Good morning. It is Tuesday, August 18th at just after 8 o'clock in the morning. My name is Larry Cedar, and I'm back with you for another session on Sqanning, spelled S-Q-A-N-N-I-N-G, which is a relaxation technique which utilizes the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. And that's where it's at. So we're starting early today, trying to beat the heat a little bit. You can tell by the length of my hair that we've been doing this lockdown thing for some time now. I didn't think it would be this long, but here we are in the middle of August. So I continue to explore this concept of Sqanning, this idea of incremental muscular release as a means to achieve physical, emotional, and mental calm. And it's been an interesting, I call it an experiment, a long-running experiment. I've been doing this for several years, and I've achieved what I believe are really substantial results, and so I share it with you in the hopes that if it's of value to you, you will also give it a shot. So let's just begin. I've had a couple days off from doing it publicly, so I've had some time to think about certain concepts, and it just keeps coming back to the same thing. I base this practice on the ideas of a man named Thaddeus Golis, who wrote a book called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, who basically said the entire universe, simply put, breaks down to two basic processes: contraction, squeeze your hands together, and expansion, release. And that if we could somehow learn to understand those two concepts and heighten our awareness of them and how they affect our life, we could in fact alter our state of consciousness. And again, this is assuming that at any particular given moment, your state of consciousness is not a good one. If you're in what we call a bad place and you want to change your state of consciousness to a good place, if you feel bad, want to feel good, we can apply these techniques of contraction and expansion and our awareness of them to our own self to improve our state of being and feel better. And that's really all it is. So when he talks about contraction and expansion, he basically means what it sounds like. Contractions are the bringing together of materials, thoughts, words, forces, as it feels like when you squeeze your hands, in an effort to achieve a goal. Expansion is letting go of those concepts, thoughts, feelings, materials, in an attempt to enlighten ourselves, to become expanded, open to any possibility, to let go of our decisions, our actions, our plans, and open up and see what else is possible in the universe. So we vacillate in life between those two states. Contraction, expansion. We're on a continuum. And if you begin to look at your life that way, you can begin to assess at any given moment in your day, in your life, where am I? Am I in a more contracted state right now? Or am I in a more expanded state? And generally speaking, what I've discovered is when I'm feeling bad, when I'm not happy, I tend to be overly contracted. Contraction is the stuff of life. We must contract. We must do. We must make decisions, plans, build things, think things, say things. This is the stuff of life. But when we become obsessed and overly contracted, we tend to close ourselves off. We become restricted. We become less effective. We become closed-minded. We become racked with anxiety, compulsive thoughts. And, we do a lot of things to alleviate this overcontraction. We'll either drink alcohol or smoke a joint or take a pill or, maybe a more healthy alternative, take a vacation, which is great, or, participate in a hobby which we really love that opens us up and expands us. That's all expansion. So that's all we're doing. So my particular take on this process, this vacillation between contraction and expansion, is that in order to expand, if that's our goal, we start with the muscles. This is what I call a sort of a dumb technique. There's no real theory, there's no philosophy. We just basically begin to expand the muscles. We release tension in the muscles. And by doing so, by expanding the musculature in our body, we, by association, expand our very sense of being, our consciousness. This is the theory I came up with. This is the theory I've tested for many, many years. And this is the theory which I have seen to work. No matter what state I'm in, no matter how contracted I feel, no matter how conflicted or obsessed with thoughts or worried or anxious or ineffective or tight or resistant I feel, if I concentrate on releasing the muscular tension in my body, in the muscle groups, by association, I will begin to also expand my consciousness. And by that I mean I will become more emotionally free and mentally free, because the mind is a muscle of sorts. And as you hold on to thoughts, obsessive thoughts, and you become negative or anxious, if you release the mind and relax the mind, Just like you would a muscle, those negative thoughts just float away, and you suddenly find yourself in a place of calm and quiet, peace and joy. That's it. So I'll give you an example. Last night, nighttime is when I typically do most of my obsessive thinking and worrying. I was spinning about things, about the state of the world, about my state of affairs, about everything. And I found myself making decisions. Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I've got to do this. I'm going to do this. I have to do this. It's a form of worry. It's like phantom decision making. There's really nothing you could do at 3 a.m, but you find yourself thinking. And I realized, again, according to this process, decisions are contractions. We've decided we're going to do this. We've locked down on an idea. We've clamped down on a concept or a plan that we feel will allow us to escape whatever challenges we're facing. And those are contractions. And it wasn't making me happy. Making all these decisions was making me somewhat miserable. So again, my approach to this is forget the thinking process. Focus strictly on the expanded muscle process. And I began to focus muscle group by muscle group on releasing the tension in my body, the muscular tension in my body. And if you see it as a link, the body is connected to the mind. As this began to release, so my mind began to release. And I found myself entering a calmer state. So that's the theory. So let's get started. So here's how we do it. Again, this is a simple process. You can learn it in like 30 seconds, and you can practice it as much or as little as you like. But the theory is as you release muscular tension, it changes your very state of being, and you release mental and emotional tension, and you become calm and free or expanded. So we start by squeezing our hands together. We say this is contraction. This is how it feels to be contracted. You say, well, that's just my hands. How can that represent the entire universe? Well, see. Hold your hands for a while, tightly, and see how it feels. So it takes effort. Maybe it's a little uncomfortable. Maybe you'd rather stop, but you're doing it because you're out to achieve a certain goal. So that's contraction. Rigid, unmoving, tight, possibly uncomfortable. So how do we reverse that? Well, it's simple. We make a decision. 3, 2, 1, release. Drop your hands. Take a deep breath. And that's expansion. So that's it. That's all we're going to do. For some people, it's too simple. For some people, it's blessedly simple, because that's all you need to learn to do, is to release muscular tension. And what you will be ultimately doing is taking sessions of anywhere from 5, 15 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour, and just inducing states of relaxation within the muscle groups of your body. We start with the hand to show what it feels like, so you can begin to recognize what this process involves and how it feels to contract, squeeze your hands together versus release. 3, 2, 1, release. You begin to lock in what that sensation is, and then you begin to move that process through your body. And we're going to break it down into muscular groups. But that's the basic premise. All you're going to do in scanning is take some time to incrementally release the muscular tension in your body and see what that does for your state of being, for your very consciousness. Again, I've found this to be incredibly effective. No matter how worried I am about anything, no matter how obsessed I am, no matter how depressed, which is also a form of emotional contraction I've become, incrementally releasing the muscular tension of my body, progressively moving through my body, changes my state of mind, my very state of being. So let's continue. Squeeze your hands together, tight, tight, tight. 3, 2, 1, release. Drop your hands and take a deep breath. So what you've done is not only released a small amount of muscular tension, but you've reminded yourself that this process was within your control. In other words, when we're in a very contracted state, we tend to feel like life is happening to us. We have no control, like we're victims of our circumstance. We don't know what to do. We become frantic, panicked. How do I get out of this? I feel terrible. And like I said, typically we'll take one of the traditional methods. We'll have a drink, or we'll smoke a joint, or we'll pop a pill. And if we're of a healthier state of mind, maybe we'll go get a massage or go to a therapist or a chiropractor. There's a million ways out there to find relief from being contracted. But what this does is indicates that you can do it yourself. You can expand yourself. Now you go, but what did I do? Well, you have to be patient, because this process, it takes a little more work than, let's say, popping a pill. The pill does it for you. The drink does it for you. The joint does it for you. The therapist does it for you. This process, you must take care of yourself. You're responsible for yourself. So it takes a little more effort. You have to be a little more decisive, but the results are amazing. One more time. Squeeze your hands together, tight, tight, tight. 3, 2, 1. Release. Drop your hands and take a deep breath. And just focus on how it feels to have expanded even just the smallest amount. Now I have to warn you, I just heard my gardener show up, so if the leaf blowers start in a minute, we'll cut the session short and we'll continue it tomorrow. But again, you've learned the technique basically. Now we're going to go through the body and we're going to practice that same simple incremental muscular release and see what it does for us. It's very typical in practicing this technique to feel or to say or to think, this isn't working. I don't feel anything. I don't want to do this. I don't like it. I'm bored. I'm frustrated. These are all very typical feelings. When the body's in a contracted state, it wants to stay there. It feels safe. Even if it's uncomfortable or depressing or ridden with anxiety, it just locks onto it. Releasing muscular tension is a way to move yourself away from that contracted state, and we tend to resist. We tend to want to hold on, even if it's bad for us. So expect those feelings. Be patient. I always say 15 minutes of muscular expansion, muscular release, is usually the breakthrough point at which you begin to suddenly completely let go and feel completely calm and still and centered, at peace. One more time. Squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. See what that feels like. All we're basically doing is identifying and heightening our awareness of the difference between these two processes. Contraction, tight, 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 and 3, 2, 1, release. Drop your hands, deep breath. Expansion. You'll notice sometimes when someone is very uptight, you've seen a scenario either in a movie or you've seen somewhere and someone's really wound up and another friend will take them aside and say, okay, listen, sit down, calm down, take a deep breath, just take a deep breath, take a breath. What is that? That's expansion. That's expansion. At minimum, if you learn nothing else from this process, it's take deep breaths. They're expansive. They move you away from contraction towards expansion. So now we're going to move into the muscle groups, and that's the nuts and bolts of this technique. What you'll do really when you've gotten past these initial primary steps of scanning or expansion is you'll concentrate on the muscle groups. That's really what the technique is about. We take these initial steps to sort of shock us out of our contracted state. But what we're now going to really begin to work on, what I do for myself when I practice this, is I'll take a muscle group and I'll release the tension in that muscle group and I'll move to the next muscle group. And you basically scan your body. You work your way through your body looking for and releasing muscular tension. Again, the goal being, once you have physically released muscular tension, your mind will follow. We start with the face. On my count, release the most incremental amount of muscular tension from my face. And the way you can tell is you can look in a mirror, watch my face. 3, 2, 1, release. I've let go of the muscles which were holding the expression on my face. And you want to look for what that feels like to release muscular tension. What did that feel like? The face. 3, 2, 1. It's a sort of a sagging, dropping sensation. That's what you're looking for in your entire body. Again, we have a massive amount of accumulated stress. We're making decisions all day. We're making plans all day. We're worrying about things all day. We're physically exerting ourselves all day. We're very good at contracting. If you're the least bit ambitious type of person, you work all day building things, creating projects, thinking things. This is what we do. As a matter of course, this is the stuff of life. We're not as familiar with releasing, expanding. So we're trying to build a heightened awareness of that process so that we can, on demand, relax. The face. 3, 2, 1, release. And we're going to move fairly quickly through these. Your homework assignment, if you want to look at it that way, is to practice this on your own and explore what it does for you. I still, to this day, after all these years of practicing this technique, face my own resistance. I'm reluctant to expand, to release, to let go. I see contraction as a security blanket. When things are tough, when times are tough like they are now, we tend to hang on more tightly to our contractions. And we are basically at war with ourselves because part of us instinctively knows that being so tight, being so contracted isn't good for us. We don't feel good. We feel bad, but we can't seem to let go. So you're sort of at war with yourself. But it's a gentle war. And you can gently persuade yourself to expand. Once you begin to realize it's good for you, you'll see the benefit and you'll do it. But you have to be persistent. Zone 2, the top of the head. 3, 2, 1, release. Again, you're looking for that sense of the back of the head. 3, 2, 1, release. For me, there's a sense of going against the grain because I'm so conditioned to contract, to solve problems, to make decisions, to think things, to do things as a way of getting myself out of trouble, shall we say, whatever the trouble may be. To do the opposite, to let go, to release, to relax, sometimes feels almost illegal. My body sends me messages like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't let go of this tension. Don't let go of this contraction. That's dangerous. You'll be vulnerable. You'll be weakened. You'll be at risk. You'll have let go of all the pieces you put in place to control your life that make you safe. So instinctively, you tend to want to not let go. That's fine. That's fine. Expect a lot of resistance, but also expect tremendous benefits. The back of the head. 3, 2, 1, release. Again, explore what that feels like to let go. The neck. 3, 2, 1, release. Again, the neck. 3, 2, 1, release. Now, for many of you, this will be like nothing you've ever done before. It will seem like incredibly wrong. Let go? Let go? How can I do that? It feels extremely dangerous. First of all, tension reduces emotion and sensation. So if you've been at all in fear or dangerous or anxious, a dangerous place or feeling anxious or whatever, you feel like you need to protect yourself. Again, we're dealing with a lot of threatening circumstances these days. You may have closed off, become tense, and cut yourself off from feelings. So another reason people don't like to do this process sometimes is as you release and relax, you begin to sense emotions. They come back. They never go away. You've just tucked them down below. So as you begin to relax, you might start to feel things. For a lot of people, that makes them very uncomfortable. I don't want to feel anything. I was in control of my life. Now I'm starting to feel things. No. So that's okay. Feelings are only scary when they're emerging. Once they're out, they feel great. So whatever's going on, whatever resistances you're feeling, continue to gently push past that. Next is the shoulders. 3, 2, 1, release. And by say release, just let them drop. Take a deep breath. Again, the shoulders. 3, 2, 1, release. So I think I'm hearing the leaf blowers. So we may call this session short today. But again, I just want to review with you. We'll keep going until they appear outside my window. What we're doing is moving ourselves from a state of contraction into a state of expansion. We tend to move towards contraction to protect ourselves, to control our lives, to put ourselves in a safe place, and we want to move towards expansion. And we do that through incremental muscular release. Okay? So you move through the muscle groups, you scan your body, finding places of tension. 3, 2, 1, the face, release. The neck, 3, 2, 1, release. The shoulders, 3, 2, 1, release. The chest, stomach, and waist, 3, 2, 1, release. And you begin to explore these areas and see if you can recognize and become familiar with the sensation of muscular release. You can then encourage it and do it even further. You can go further. You then work into the back, the pelvis, the legs, and the feet. This simple process of incremental muscular release will elicit a similar response in the mind. The mind will relax and release, letting go of all negative, obsessive thoughts until you come to a place where you are still, quiet, calm. From that place, you can then re-enter your world with a much calmer, clearer perspective. You can be more effective in your work and your relationships. You can have a generally calmer state of being and mind. You'll feel better. Your body will feel better. As the muscular tension releases, the body will heal itself. It's a state we can all bring ourselves to naturally. It's a state we need to come to balance our lives, and you can continue to do that as much or as little as you like. I practice this at least a couple hours a day, not always at one time, sometimes 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. I always say to people, if nothing else, if you can find a moment in your day to turn off the computer, put down your phone, turn off the television set, put away the video games, hang up the phone, sit in stillness and quiet, take a series of deep breaths. One more. And another. Breaths are also very expansive. And then sit for stillness and silence, 15 seconds. you will have gone a long way to bring yourselves into an expanded state. I hear that the leaf blowers coming. I'm going to call it a day today. This is Larry Cedar. It's called Sqanning, Sqanning. I'm going to repost this session on my Facebook page, also on the Sqanning Facebook page, Sqanning, where you'll see other sessions if you're interested. And I always end every session by saying rule number one, great way to start the day, love yourself. Love yourself. You are what you were given. And there's a lot to love. There's plenty of love available in the universe. Take as much as you need for yourself. When you have so much that you have enough and it's spilling over, take what's left over and pass it around to the rest of us because we could all use it. Okay, have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.